All right, so if you are still watching here, thank you for tuning into the live stream and everything. So I just wanted to kind of hop on really quick to go through a little bit about what we saw in this whole audit situation and everything. So obviously we know what's going on in PA. So really, this was an opportunity for them to basically go through and show us all of the things that they really found in this particular situation. And to me, I think there was a lot of things that they actually went through that are pretty important. I think that we didn't know at first at all. And either way, at least gives a good or great case to say something needs to change. Okay, so I kind of put on Gab already, if you're following me there, a bit of some of the things that came out of this. So the first big one, I think, was when they said that 74,000, it was over 74,000 mail-in ballots were found, that there was no clear record that they were even sent. Okay, so basically just ballots that I think this would be our worst nightmare, right? Is that you have almost 75,000 ballots where they were mail-in ballots where they don't even have a record showing that they were sent to anyone. I mean, that's basically what's happening here is that would be kind of like your fraudulent ballots. If they were never sent out, they should not be counted, right? I mean, that's the clearest, I think, evidence right there. The other thing that you had in there was that the number of mail-in ballots received in Maricopa County is higher than the number of mail-in ballots that were sent out as well. So already you're having these discrepancies take place. There was another point in there, 11,326 voters not on the voter rolls in November, or on November 7th, were on the voter roll in December 4th and were marked as voted in the November 3rd election. Like, how does that work? So you had people that were registered after the fact that weren't registered before. A lot of discrepancies going on here. And then it goes on, the ballots used on election day are thinner and inconsistent with the thicker security paper approved by the county. And so there's kind of like a note too on that where they were basically saying that if the using the thinner ballots with the way that the markers are set up or whatever, there could be a chance that it could bleed through. That's why those thinner ballots don't look legitimate. So then it goes on and it's talking about the Maricopa County gave boxes that they said were original ballots that were actually duplicates. So that's another thing too, where they were basically tracing back. You had a lot of different talks about duplicate ballots. Some people were like, well, how do we know how many duplicates there were? And it was like, well, there's really no exact way to know without having everything. And it would take a ridiculous amount of work to kind of figure that out. But there were, in fact, a bunch of duplicate ballots, which is a problem, okay? Where there's counted, where there's not counted, and how do we account for all of that in the actual overall numbers of everything? So then there was the regular ballots that were put in boxes that were supposed to be for Braille ballots. So ballots for the blind people. They're all mixed in together. The problem is what we're seeing is a lot of this is just very sloppy work. Some of it's very obvious, like you have the almost 75,000 ballots that were clearly not sent out to anyone. Yeah, that obviously for that one. But when you have all of the other ballots and it's like, oh, well, these were over there. Yeah, some scattered over here. Some were mixed in with the Braille ballots. I mean, what you have is that this whole process was either very sloppy or very bad in the very least. It just wasn't done correctly. So, and then the last thing I put on Gab here is that every account in the election management system in Maricopa County, no matter the name, shared the same password. That's extremely ridiculous that you have all of those people's information and everything under the same exact password. And then it made the point there that the password was established at the same time that the Dominion software was installed on the systems and does not appear to have been ever changed. So in other words, the guy was actually talking about like the security of a normal computer. And like you have a Windows computer or a phone or anything like that. You get weekly updates on security, on updates to make sure that your stuff is as up to date as it can be, right? To combat the newest whatever hacks that are out there. These Dominion machines, from what they saw, have literally never been updated since the day they got them, basically. The second that the software was installed, it's like having Windows XP from like 10 years ago installed on a election ballot system. Like, nobody would trust that because it's an old system. It's insecure. They've cut off support for it. That's basically what people were voting on in these situations. So there's a lot of stuff that came out of this. And I think that at the very least, it warrants an absolute decertification of the election. That would be great. That would be the preference there because something has to happen. I mean, you can't have all of these ballots just with all of these discrepancies taking place. I mean, if anything, they don't even have to show that Trump really won if they really wanted to. I mean, these discrepancies alone should be enough for people to say something needs to give, or there needs to be something else that's done about this, because it's too obvious to me. I mean, we know that the Democrats clearly cheated a lot in this situation. We see the stuff with the mail-in ballots right there, with the amount of ballots that they were counting that had nothing to do with being sent out to people, that were on the wrong paper, that maybe had no signature, that were on old machines, or these machines that have never been updated. I mean, there's so many things here that makes you just wonder, why was this ever allowed to be the case? Why? So I don't know. I think this is just, I think it's a good thing that we're seeing this information now. Hopefully we'll get some more later. I'm really looking forward to the PA audit as well. I think that these discrepancies alone are enough to make other states. Once again, I always said Arizona's kind of the first domino, right? And then after that, all the other dominoes are just going to follow suit. Everything's going to fall after that. So I'm curious to see what actually takes place out of this. I hope you are too. And I'll be definitely trying to update and cover that as things go on as well. So with that being said, thanks for tuning into the stream as well on this one. And I will see you on the next one.